Audio Jungle.
Clarification in respect to the report presented by the Amnesty International some few days ago. So the report, I think almost all of us is with the report. So can we go ahead?
Yes.
Okay. A report of coalition of CSOs on human rights and conflict resolution in Nigeria. Non-governmental global human rights activist organization, Amnesty International, has been in the news in Nigeria for controversial reasons. Amnesty International, in pursuit of its stated mandate, publishes reports on its findings about the state of human rights in Nigeria. It focuses on the conduct of soldiers and other security personnel prosecuting Nigeria's war on terrorism. Other insurgencies, separatists, and militants has been intense, which brings into conflict with authorities in the country. You must also be aware by now that exactly 14 days ago, we called the attention of the world to attempts by an agency of the United Nations, UNICEF, coordinating falsehood in the country and calculated at tarnishing the image of the Nigerian military, particularly those carrying out mop-up operations in the northeast, to tame the activities of terrorists that have sought to pull humanity down. It was our earlier exposition and the singular fact that the report, which was supposed to be published by the UNICEF in less than 1 week, was wholly adopted by the Amnesty International without any editing, that has led to the conflicting views between Amnesty International and the authorities. The federal government of Nigeria, the Nigerian military, and the coordinated opinion of the Nigerian civil society organizations. The facts have to be objectively assessed and recommendations made in the interest of stakeholders, the most important being the citizens whose lives are the most impacted. It will be counterproductive to indict or exonerate either party without thoughts for how such stance impacts the safety and well-being of the larger population. The ability of Amnesty International to continue monitoring conflicts and the capacity of the military to keep fighting terrorists are key considerations when assessing the relationship between both parties. Nothing should be done to deliberately obstruct either in the legitimate pursuit of their functions. Methodology. The assessment adopted a comparative study of what Amnesty International and the Nigerian military declared they are doing versus the report of their activities and versus the reality on ground. Researchers interviewed experts to give context to the outcome of the comparisons. Unlike other civil society organizations who derive pleasure in sitting down in their offices to sign any document that is thrown at them by NGOs once payment or grant is guaranteed. Findings. Our findings reveal that the military continued to perform credibly considering the manufactured insurgency and internationally support terrorism it is dealing with. The reports usually released by Amnesty International is part of a well-disguised sponsorship of Boko Haram, that is apparently geared towards achieving a predetermined result. This particular one is question has been begging for legitimacy after it was exposed that Amnesty International and the UNICEF were paying journalists and NGOs to compile fictitious reports against the Nigerian military and other stakeholders fighting terrorism in Nigeria. What these organizations stand to achieve is still what the coalition is yet to come to terms with. The military's compliance with the rules of engagement is significantly high, enough to conform with the globally accepted standard in conflict situations. Instances of infractions had more to do with individual deviation than and organizational policy of the military services. There is no doubt a few instances have been investigated by the Nigerian military through its human rights desks that coordinate same across the country. The setting up of such the human rights desks in every formation and unit by the Nigerian Army is therefore to this coalition a commendable exercise and must be applauded by experts in this field. We want to unequivocally state from our findings and investigations that Amnesty International's monitoring of human rights situation, particularly in Northeast, is not fact-based and rely heavily on testimonies that appear not too far removed from fiction. Its report do not lend themselves to follow-ups because it is impossible to contract its so-called witnesses for verification, even when there is no clear evidence that access to them will place them in harm's way. The NGOs keeps all the subject of its report unanimously. It may be recalled that during the Presidential Investigation Panel on Human Rights Compliance in Nigeria sitting in Maiduguri, a purported witness detailed to the sitting by Amnesty International gave a vivid explanation as to how cash were sent to the community leaders in Maiduguri, and same were sent as published in the media, same way as it was sent to them without any further investigation. We beg to ask the world if that is how many human rights reports are coordinated anywhere in the world. Amnesty International constantly validates suspicion that is not working as the activist wing of Boko Haram and other groups that threaten security in Nigeria. Its report tends to lessen the atrocities committed by Boko Haram and other criminal groups, or in some cases blame government, military, or security for the crimes committed by its terrorists. Staff of Amnesty International have conflicting interests, employment or ownership of local NGOs that have been openly sympathetic of Boko Haram. These other interests, like it tie up with Transparency International and its local franchises, are used as alternate channels of population damaging falsehood against the authorities. These partner organizations of Amnesty International are used to induce a section of the media to reproduce its malicious reports without the benefit of the gatekeeping oversight traditionally required of them. The inducement, often in form of honorarium for attending routine workshops and conferences, escort for trips, and disproportionate payment for a review of inconsequential reports. The section of the media that resists these tempting offers are often characterized as unprofessional or compromised by Amnesty International staff and their associates. The legitimate operation of the military is constantly hampered by Amnesty International's misleading reports. This has great consequences for the overall security architecture of Nigeria, especially now that some key players in the political terrain have started providing local funding to supplement the foreign clients of Amnesty International with a view to impacting the 2019 general elections. The activities of Amnesty International, mostly its reports, which do not meet the standard of thoroughness required, are covered to offer tactical support to Boko Haram. This organization tends to adopt different approaches to different countries, while it works towards destruction of countries within the crosshair of its destabilization agenda. Its approach to certain nations is conciliatory, even when they engage in wanton killings and other systematic forms of abuses. Global bodies like the United Nations and other supranational organizations have largely allowed Amnesty International to continue hurting. Recommendations. The federal government of Nigeria should work with the military to fashion a long-term containment measure for attenuating the damages that Amnesty International's activities in Nigeria are caused. The intelligence community should be mandated to expose the true nature of Amnesty International's mission in Nigeria. Any revelation from this must be made known to Nigerians because they deserve to know the truth about an organization that has evolved into the greatest threat to their lives. Anti-terror laws should be allowed to fully take take their courses, especially as they pertain to supporting terrorism. There is need for IDPs camps in the Northeast to be closed and citizens relocated back to their various communities, since political Boko Haram is taking advantage of the humanitarian crisis to introduce a mutant strain of Boko Haram in the camps. Amnesty International has lost the moral right to continue monitoring human rights issues, and conflict in Nigeria should be informed so. Nigerians should be allowed as individuals and as collective to respond to Amnesty International threat as they deem it fit within the scope permissible by law. Conclusion. This coalition has credibly evidenced that confirm Amnesty International official position as the political activism wing of Boko Haram in Nigeria. The coalition will drag Amnesty International before the International International Criminal Court in a matter of days as the entity solely responsible for the prolonged incidences of Boko Haram. It shall hold the NGO responsible for every single death facilitated by the Amnesty International Criminal Report. We wish to put the media on inquiry to dare to ask the questions that a reasonable person will do at all times when giving reports by Amnesty International to publish, as not to jeopardize its long professional standing ethics as mirror of the society. Falsehood is not only injurious to any society, but the paraffin which terrorism fits on anywhere in the country. The coalition also wishes to draw the attention of the world to the threats posed to Nigerian civilian population through the activities of Amnesty International and the consequences of nothing is urgently done. Thank you all. I wish you all the best.
Welcome to Forstview Luxury Hotel. At Forstview Luxury Hotel, we offer excellent service. Our rooms have all the necessary facilities to make your stay comfortable and memorable. You will also have access to internet service, breakfast, 24-hour power supply, full air condition, free international calls, free tire pumping service, and free car battery charge. So what are you waiting for? Quickly visit Forstview Luxury Hotel. We are located at #1 Adelino Bamishile off Raji Rasaki Road, First Estate, Amuwo, Odofin Festac, Lagos. For more information or reservation, please call us on 08075787135 or 08099900601. You can also take advantage of our online ongoing promo at www.forceviewhotel.com to make your reservation and payment for your favorite room, which attracts a discount rate. Please note, rooms are reserved based on first come, first serve. Forstview Luxury Hotel, experience the home of comfort. They come.